Hi guys and welcome back to the Runner Bean podcast. Today I'm joined by an incredibly interesting guest, Swedish pro runner Victor Smångs. Victor started running at the age of 33, flash forward a few years and now can already run a sub 29 minute 10k and has his sights on a 2:10 marathon at Valencia. But things have not been so easy as he's building back up after a 4.5 month injury. Anyway, in this podcast today we'll speak about his incredible running journey, how he's managed to progress so quickly, his training, dealing with injury, and his ambitious goal for the Valencia Marathon. And one thing I ask of you guys, if you please could follow the podcast wherever you're listening or watching this, that would really help me out. So without further ado, Victor Smångs, welcome to the Runner Bean podcast. Yeah, welcome to the Runner Bean podcast. How is it going?
I'm very good, Leah. How are you?
I am very good. You've got quite a few books behind you.
Yeah, this is my setup, when I'm in podcast. I
Lovely.
look a little bit
Yeah.
smart in the background.
Yeah, I know. It's quite nice. How's training been going?
But it's been good, going well. I've been having my kind of the first bigger injury during my running
Yes.
career. I got it
Yes.
in March, so now it's
Mhm.
now it's going well, I have to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually first came across you. I think I watched maybe a YouTube video you were doing like a double threshold session. But other than that, I haven't heard of you for like before like maybe 2 years ago. But yeah, you've got quite an interesting story. You started quite late, so if you don't mind, like telling us when you started running and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I started in 2019, so I was
Yeah.
33 then, and now I'm
Mm.
yeah, 7 years later. So now I actually turned 40 in March. So
Wow.
started quite late in life, but
Yeah.
feels like I should have started with running earlier because
Mm.
I ran a 10K in 30:29 within a year. So
Mhm. Wow.
it's been an ex-hockey player. So I played
Yeah.
hockey till I was ice hockey till I was 20.
Okay. Yeah.
And then in my 20s, I was like more or less traveling, working a little
Yeah.
bit. Then I
Yeah.
didn't much studied a little bit, and then
Yeah.
I picked up running when I was 33. I think it was some kind of New
Yeah.
Year's resolution.
That was why you started, just a New Year's resolution, or was there like a bigger reason as to why you started?
Yeah, the thing is like with kind of with the ice hockey, what you did during the summer was we in the teams I was playing in, you always had this physiological tests after summer to see how much you had kind of trained during the
Mm.
break.
Yeah.
And one of those tests was always like a 3,000-meter race after all the strength kind of tests. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think I've lapped the second guys in every team I've ever played in for the 3,000-meter test. So I kind of knew that I had some kind of I don't know, like genetical skills for running.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But you're not also you're is it weird that how you're coming on a podcast as a guest and you're not the host? Because I'm familiar with your running podcast, Runners FM, and your running YouTube channel. It's very cool. Is it weird coming on the podcast as a guest, or you're
I
probably
think
used
it's
to it?
oh yeah, I think I started like this. I started running FM 2 years ago with a friend
Hmm.
of mine, so haven't done it for too long. But before that, I think mainly in Sweden, I guess I've been in podcasts quite often. But it's time
Mm.
to time I have an international, so it's nice to be
Mm.
back to
Yes.
in English podcast.
Yeah, I saw your latest video with how you went to England and did a 5K race in was it the Essex 5K champs? I saw on your video. That was pretty cool. And if you don't mind sharing how that went.
Yeah, it was I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I actually planned this race together with Ben Felton that I'm
Yeah.
coaching. Probably most people know him as Ben is running.
Yes.
So we were kind of in at a running camp together in February in Spain, and then he talked about this race being very, very nice. It's a flat 5K loop,
Yeah.
and Yeah, so we just kind of booked it a long time ago. We both thought probably
Mm.
that we were going to be in really good shape at the time, but both of us got a little bit of niggles and injuries since then. So
Yeah.
now it was more or less just to get back to it. So I kind
Mm.
of raced the race without having done anything more than cross training for 4.5 months, which
Yeah.
was fun in a way as well because it
Mm.
was more or less zero expectations.
Yeah. Had you done like any like running sessions before that race?
I actually did one session the same week with a Swedish 1500-meter girl called Yolanda Garambe. She's a very gifted 1500-meter runner. She's been in the World kind of Cup semifinal, I think. So
Hmm.
I asked her if I could join her for some fast kind of 300-meter intervals and some
Okay.
600-meter intervals
Yeah.
just to get to see how the mechanics
Yeah.
felt because I thought that I could probably run under 15 even though I wasn't really like ready for it, but I think
Yeah.
that was just like a base level. I think that's where I'm at.
Yeah. So had you done, I presume you did maybe some easy running, or was it just that week that you just started?
It was some easy running, so mainly on with an incline on the
Yeah.
treadmill.
Yeah.
That's been the running I've done, but
Mhm.
otherwise than that, it's just been elliptical and
Yeah.
biking, but some running on the treadmill with an
Yeah.
incline to take off the load from the pelvis area.
Mm. So was it a bit of a rush getting with your fitness going to that race, or but you just started good. You ran like 14:45, was it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I to be honest, it was one of the most fun races I run because I had zero expectations. I knew that my stress reactions have kind of healed, so I wasn't any like I didn't have any kind of I wasn't worried that there was gonna like cause me any troubles. It's more about how hard it would be to run
Yeah.
a 5K race without
Yeah.
any proper preparation. So, but
Yeah.
that was kind of a fun challenge to just see how it felt without
Yeah.
any proper training.
But that's crazy how you ran that time off just loads of training, cross training. It shows that I guess cross training, builds a massive aerobic base, similar to what just easy running could do. But yeah, I think obviously running is probably the best way to get better, but I think cross training is like another little hack to get better without obviously putting too much impact on your body. But another thing I wanted to sort of touch on was, you've got a very interesting training philosophy. You do lots of threshold training. If you don't mind, just explain to the audience what that is and why is it useful to improve as a runner?
Yeah, exactly. I think that is hard to not do a lot of threshold training if you're from Scandinavia these days.
Yeah. Well,
So
I'm not from Scandinavia, but yeah.
yeah, so yeah, when I started 2019, that was more or less, I think, the first peak of the Ingebrigtsen kind of brothers. They had
Yeah.
a show on Norwegian television, so I
Yes,
don't think it was
I watched it.
translated at the time, but it was a really good
I
one.
I think I watched it like twice, but I
Yeah,
had like
yeah, it
the
was so
English
good.
subtitles on. Yeah, it's still on YouTube, I'm pretty sure. It's somewhere there.
Yeah, I'll bet it is. I think it's probably some good translations now, but I think I streamed it from Norwegian television then,
Mm,
and I got so inspired by their whole kind of the
yeah,
storytelling about the brothers and everything,
yeah,
and then we had a guy in the club that I started in here in Sweden that came to this. He was running in Doha during the World Championships 2019. I know Andreas Almgren said exactly the same thing in a couple of podcasts this week, that this was a guy called Kalle Berglund that inspired him to run double thresholds. And Kalle was the same
mm,
kind of inspiration for me because I
yeah,
was in the same club and he went to he qualified for the semifinal in the World Championships. Or it was actually the final. Yeah, the final in the World Championship 2019 for the 1500s, and he beat Philip Ingebrigtsen, which was very inspiring. So that got me very, very curious about that
yeah,
this kind of mythological kind of training when you do
yeah,
two threshold sessions. I didn't know what a threshold session was back
mm,
in those days, but I was just trying to do it, but at a smaller scale as a
yeah,
beginner, kind of. That's how it
yeah.
started.
Of course, yeah. And going more scientific, if you don't mind explaining like what all these jumbled up words might mean to some people, like LT1, LT2, stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do it as not scientific
Okay,
as
that's
possible, I
fine.
guess. But like I think you can probably say that the LT1 is the threshold from between low intensity and high intensity. I would say if
Yeah.
people have watches, is the zone 1 and zone 2 is south of the LT1, and zone
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, um, if
Mm.
you use the 5 zone kind of system, is above. And what is happening is more or less it's close to where what we can call the fat max, when the body is starting to use more carbohydrates because the intensity is starting to be
Mm.
higher, and and less fat,
Mm.
um,
Yeah.
which is and that is a really good kind of that threshold is very you kind of need to have a LT1 at a very high pace, close to a marathon pace, if you want to be a good marathon runner, so to say. So I think for marathon, that is probably the most important kind
Mm.
of metrics. And then we
Yeah.
have the LT2, which is more the what you can call like the Norwegian
Yeah.
threshold,
Yeah.
the what most people call the threshold, and it's more or less just the steady state where the body kind of clear lactates and produce lactate, and somewhere you have a steady state that you can hold to
Mm.
maybe up to an hour before you have to stop
Yeah.
running, and that
Yeah.
is the threshold that you have to be having a good one if you kind of want to be good between the 1500 and the half marathon.
Yeah. Mhm. So yeah, I
Is that
think threshold is pretty like versatile. As you know, when you base build, you can do it, but then obviously when you get more specific, you can kind of just do what training you need to specify for your event. But just going into like, obviously you're a coach, so how is that coaching athletes, and why did you want to start coaching?
Yeah, I think it was because I used this, the double threshold, the classic
Yeah,
Ingebrigtsen,
yeah,
Mars
yeah.
Bakken weeks
Hmm.
up to I think it was 2023, I think.
Yeah.
And I just became better and better. I came down to like 29:30, I think, for the 10K with that
Mm.
system.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, like all the training just started to I just became worse and worse. I didn't understand why.
Okay, yeah.
And then I started to be more scientific about it. Before it was just numbers on a kind of
Yeah.
lactate meter for me that
Yeah.
I just people have said that I should hit these numbers.
Mm.
But then I started to buy, yeah, a lot of these books that you have in the background here, and
Do
started
you,
to just very much ask a
yeah,
lot of people about
yeah.
physiology. And I think
Mm.
my findings there was probably the reason why I'm starting to coach, because I kind of wanted to try to help other people
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
training.
Yeah. Do you recommend any like running books to us, the audience and me?
Absolutely, I have a lot of them. I think my friend Nils, if you have seen the YouTube channel, he came
Yeah.
back with this one. So this was handed. I was just laying
Okay.
here.
Okay.
This is a very good one. It's called Training for the Uphill Athlete, which is
Mhm.
I'm showing it here in the picture, but you
It
guys
looks
will
like
probably not
Mount
see it.
Everest, but it probably isn't Mount Everest, but
Yeah, it's a very fun one because most people probably not pick this up from a
yeah.
bookshop if you're a kind of
Mm.
track runner. But it's with Kilian Jornet, probably a lot of people have heard of. He's a very good ultra runner, and it's a guy
Mm.
called Scott Johnston, who's coach of both the female and the male winner of UTMB last year.
Oh,
And I
okay.
think this is a very good book if you want to kind of get a good understanding on how to
Yeah.
build like a big aerobic base, and
Yeah.
the LT1, the LT2, the physiology
Mm.
about those things is very good explained in this book.
Yeah. And going into like the structure of how you sort of, you know, set your training for your athletes, what is like the main sort of structure? What is like the main overview that you set?
I would say that I'm trying to be very kind of individual
Yeah.
when I'm starting to coach someone. So
Mm.
and a lot of people I coach, like Ben, for example, I don't stand next to them every week, so it's harder for me to just see how they run, how the mechanics are going,
Yeah.
listen to them when they breathe, all those things. So I kind of demand people that are coached or are not living here in Stockholm at least to get go to a lab so I can get a good lab result, so we can have some metrics to go for, like to base the training with, like heart rate numbers
Yeah.
at different the LT1, LT2.
Mhm.
But I'm also very interested in to see the lactate numbers in different paces to determine what kind of runners they are, together with, of
Yeah.
course, the PBs that have told me that they've been running.
Mhm.
Uh, all the history that they tell me, I'm trying to get a good understanding on what's the limitations for kind of their goals
Yeah.
at the moment.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm sure there are like lots of young viewers and listeners watching this podcast. And I think with social media, it's easy to get into that trap of, following what, you know, maybe Jakub did at this age, at my age. But I think obviously some training works for someone doesn't work for everyone. But so what would you sort of recommend for, teenage runners to like how much volume should they be training and what sort of training should they be focusing on to improve as a runner?
That's a very, very good one, Leah. And I don't think I'm the biggest expert in this area. I'm gonna go now to the track here soon and do a lot of laps with a lot of the young guys in my club, but they have a really good like coach for the young athletes. But I haven't really had anyone, you know, in their young
Mm.
teens
Okay.
that I've been coaching yet. But
Yeah.
I would say that like in a young age, I would say that it's probably important to do a lot of different sports, as you'll
Mm.
probably always hear. But I
Yeah.
can definitely see it with myself compared to other people that have started a little bit later. If you,
Yeah.
for example, I did a lot of football. I played football and ice hockey up till I was 20. So these kind of fast, twitch fibers in the muscles are pretty developed for me for being, when I was new to running. I could run a 200 meter, for example,
Yeah.
pretty fast at around 26
Mm.
seconds without
Wow.
like before I just even started to
Yeah.
run like longer distances. So I think all those things have not come from being I've never been like a young track athlete. So I think you can develop all those things with doing other sports. I think that is
Yeah.
probably something that you hear a lot,
Yeah.
but I really think that is important.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Just trying to get that variety in. But so I'm interested. I think you're coached, right?
Yeah.
You're not self-coached, yeah. Yeah. And obviously your coach is probably more, you know, maybe more Scandinavian style with the threshold and that stuff. But yeah, that's interesting because I haven't up until maybe like 2 years ago I had never heard of threshold, but it's interesting how important it is for base building stuff. But I heard you're doing a marathon, so I'm sure you'll be doing a lot of aerobic work. And what are your goals for that, and what marathon are you doing?
Yeah, it's going to be my first proper marathon build, but which I'm very much looking forward
Yeah.
to, because I have definitely seen that I'm a more endurance strong runner. I'm not
Yeah.
super fast, so to say.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
going to be very interesting. But I'm gonna run in the Valencia marathon the
Mm.
first weekend of December,
Mhm.
and I really want to get close to 210. That is the main
Yeah.
goal.
Mhm. What if you like slow down? What's gonna happen? What if it all goes haywire?
I very rarely bail races these days, I have to say. So
Yeah.
for me to not finish the race, I probably have to feel that I'm getting
Yeah.
injured if I'm continue
Yeah.
running.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would just finish the race and
Yeah.
run a very bad time, I would say.
Yeah, but I'm sure you can get that 210. But now I've seen you're wearing a Brooks jumper. Are you sort of sponsored by Brooks, supported by Brooks?
Yes, yes, I'm a Brooks athlete.
Yeah, what are your favorite Brooks shoes then?
I think like I signed with Brooks for this year, and one of the main, probably the biggest reasons when it comes to gear was the release of the Hyperion Elite Six,
Mm.
I got to feel them and have hold them in my
Okay.
hand before I signed, and yeah, it's an amazing shoe. That was the first time I
Yeah.
tried it was during the Colchester 5K, and it felt very very good. So I'm very much
Yeah.
looking forward to running them when I'm in
Mm.
good shape as well.
Yeah. So how many weeks is it till Valencia Marathon?
It's approximately 15 weeks left now.
Okay, so you're just starting. When are you just already starting marathon phase, or is it just sort of easy-ish running, or what does that sort of look like?
Yeah, I think everything we do from now on, I guess, is geared towards that 210 goal in
Yeah.
Valencia. And what it is right now that my coach and I have discussed is that when you've been injured, as we talked about earlier, it's I have preserved my base in a good way. For example, my LT1 is very close to what it has been when I'm been the fittest. But you know that kind of LT2,
Yeah.
I don't know what people call it, the CV 10K pace, 5K
Yeah.
pace. That
Mm.
aerobic power is still lacking. And I think
Yeah.
in the right now, I think we want to put a lot of emphasis on making that strong before we start to do too much crazy
Yeah.
marathon stuff. Because if I'm not able to run, you know, a 10K close to sub 29,
Mm.
it's gonna be very hard to do those hard kind of marathon sessions
Yeah. Yeah.
in that 210 pace.
Yeah. And what is like the longest you would run in your marathon training block?
That's a good question. I think the longest I've run so far that Matt's my coach has put in my schedule is I did a 37K run, I remember, in Albert Park in Melbourne
Okay.
in the beginning of the year. So I think
Yeah.
probably going to be somewhere around there. I
Mm.
think of maybe a 40K run,
Yeah.
that ballpark, I would say.
Yeah. And would you say like running is harder mentally or physically?
Oof, you have a lot of good questions. I no, I feel like myself. I feel like I more or less have kind of committed to this sport now, and I have thrown away the keys. So
Mm.
mentally, I I don't feel like it's. I've already decided I'm gonna give this sport at least 5 more years. So I
Mm.
think to mentally, I think it's not hard for me to just do the work right now. But
Mm.
um,
Yeah.
I would say maybe, yeah. I think it's good to come to that point when you don't have to like skipping a train like a workout is not a possibility for me
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I would be so
Cool.
disappointed in myself. So
Yeah.
I think like when you have reached that point, I think it's gets easier both mentally and
Mm.
physically.
Yeah. And are you thinking to ever do ultra marathons?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that book that I showed you now. You know,
Yeah.
for
I was
training for the uphill
thinking.
athlete.
Yeah. Yeah. I.
I looks amazing. You know, the UTMB is on this week, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a little bit jealous seeing people in Chamonix, and
Yeah.
it looks really really fun.
Yeah. And I saw this Moab 240 documentary of Max Jolie. Did you watch that or
Yeah,
it's really good.
it's the tattooed guy, right, from
Yeah.
California, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I've
crazy
seen it. It's
his
good.
story, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think I would do ultras, but it would have to be like 45. I need to give the marathon a chance first. But yeah, that's cool. And I'm just interested, are you doing like strength training? Are you doing anything cool like nutrition wise to recover and build yourself stronger as an athlete?
Yeah, definitely. But both of those
Yeah,
things, I think that is, yeah, I'm luckily very genetically gifted when it comes to the running department. But I'm still, you know, 40, so I'm not like very young anymore. So
yeah,
like both the strength training is a non-negotiable for me 2 times a week.
yeah. Mm,
I did a strength test in London last weekend after the Colchester 5K,
yeah,
so I have pretty good like numbers when it comes to
Mm.
strength and power from
Yeah.
my ice hockey days. But 2 times at least, I have a strength coach here in Sweden that helps me out with the strength
Mm.
training and nutrition wise. I feel like I've learned so much since the stress reactions after Berlin half.
Yeah.
So 100% like getting more carbohydrates in.
Yeah.
It's
And
very it's the main one of the main things for this build.
yeah, and of course with the nutrition taking being quite strict with how much nutrition you probably need to take in your mouth and preparing for your fueling, so you retrain your gut. Are you doing any training, or are you getting any advice from nutritionists from these gels and drinks, whatever?
Yeah, actually, I have a ongoing email conversation that I've been it's been very forward and back today with a company in London. So I'm gonna go back to London next weekend,
Mm,
and it looks like I'm gonna be able to do one of these tests where you can see how much carbohydrates you
okay.
utilize
Yeah.
per hour. So
Mm-hmm.
I really want to get that done, so I know exactly how much I utilize, and then I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna try to stick to that number and train
Yeah.
my gut to be able to take it.
Yeah, and just looking at like what would be, a typical week of training, if you don't mind just talking us through what that would look like.
Yeah, I would say if we talk about kind of the base training, I'm definitely like a high mileage guy now, so I don't know
Yeah,
exactly what is it. Is it maybe 120 miles a week, something like
yeah.
that during the base?
Yeah.
And normally it's like it's always changing, but like a typical week is I more or less double. I do double days every day except for Sundays when it's probably some kind of long run.
Mm,
But so Mondays double easy, probably some strides after the second one. Tuesday is more or less. I think it's. We have kind of wanted me to run at least one session with my club because I think it's very important to still have that community feeling and not just
mm.
do everything myself, even though
Yeah.
my coach is not from Sweden, he's from Denmark. So maybe in the morning, then we do some LT1 work, maybe 4 times 10 minutes or 40 minutes straight on the treadmill. And then I do maybe 25 times 400 with the club.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday is too easy again. And then normally I don't do two double threshold days. Like I do more Thursday, Friday with an emphasis more on the LT1, let's say. So like bigger sessions, it could be 20 or what is that in miles, maybe 13 miles on the treadmill
Mm,
around the LT1, like progressively going
yeah.
in a pace that is maybe, yeah, like at least 10K around my LT1 in the end. So I think we're focused more on those bigger sessions because I'm more wanting to become a marathoner, and then we always have some kind of bigger long run in the during the weekend that is maybe, yeah, what is it, kind of 16 miles maybe, something like that.
Yeah. That's a lot of running. And how often do you strength training?
2 times a week.
Yeah, that's a solid training week. But for the listeners who are obviously younger, they're obviously like more middle distance runners, and same for me. I'm just interested in how much sort of VO2 max work we should be doing compared to more aerobic work.
Yeah, I think it's very important to touch on those things when you're young because
Yeah.
I definitely did that a lot when I was, ice hockey training was a lot of,
Yeah.
fast
Very
skating, a
fast.
lot of
Yeah.
VO2 max. So
Yeah.
I had a pretty, I think I had 82 as my VO2 max number when I
Okay.
started to run. So,
Yeah.
so that's quite high. And I think it's definitely have benefited me over the years.
Mhm.
So I think it's more important when you're younger to develop a good kind of aerobic system with the VO2 max kind of
Yeah.
being as high as possible. Because I've also seen people start to run later in life and they have maybe not done so much stuff in their like as a kid, but they want to start to run when they're maybe 25 or 30. And and the test leaders that I've talked to said like this person has pretty their ceiling isn't that high because they haven't been moving too much when they're younger.
Mm.
So I think you really have to set that kind of ceiling for yourself. How far you
Mm.
can go is you develop that when you're young. So
Yeah.
I think it's important to do all those things when you're young. You know, run fast, run
Mm.
slow.
Yeah.
Uh,
Of course. Yeah, I don't want to keep you too long, but I've got two more questions. So the first one being, what's one thing you wish you knew when you started running?
ooh, that's a good one as well. I think this year has been a very good year of learning a lot of new things, and I definitely think with the nutrition, if I had knew more about how much carbohydrates you have to eat, if you put in the mileage that I do, I wouldn't have been sitting here with like two stress reactions. So I think that would probably be one of the things I really would wanted to have learned earlier to know that you need those probably if you run as much as I do, you can't just eat a lot of carbohydrates during the hard days. You
Yeah,
also have to eat a lot of carbohydrates during the
yeah,
easy days. Otherwise, you get yourself depleted,
yeah,
which is
interesting. So fuel enough is the answer to that. And going
yeah.
for final question, what has running taught you about yourself?
Oof. I have to say, Leah, it's a lot of good questions. Very deep
Well,
ones. I like it. I like
well,
it.
that's right.
I think right now I'm actually reading a Buddhist book like about Buddhism,
Okay.
and I think that is something, you know, when you've been running a lot and you
Mm,
know it's a lot of things you have to sacrifice if you really want to find your own peak human performance. For me, it's like the marathon I'm going for. So it's a lot of things that you have to sacrifice, so to say. I don't feel like it's a sacrifice because this is
yeah,
really what I want to do, and I'm definitely the happiest I've been as a person now with having these goals and waking up every day with a clear goal of what I'm going to do this day in mind. But I really think that is a thing that I've learned, that running has taught me to just be more, you know, in the moment and cut off distractions. You know, if it is some people that annoy you, yes, just like earlier when I was been younger, I just been, you know, focus having much more focus about what people thought about me, you know, and stuff like
yeah,
that. And I think, you know,
yeah,
that running has definitely taught me right now that like with all the training that you said that I'm doing, you know,
yeah,
I don't have so much time
yeah,
to get this negative input and actually care about what other people think. Like
mm,
so I think that has been a very wonderful thing with running,
yeah,
that I am definitely more relaxed about what I'm doing, and I don't really care about what other people think about me and in
yeah,
any way.
yeah.
So that is a
Well,
good thing for sure.
yeah, I think for a good question, that was a very good answer. So, yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for coming on the podcast. Good luck for Valencia Marathon. I'll be looking forward to seeing the new Runners FM YouTube videos. And yeah, maybe you can come on after the Valencia Marathon, maybe. I don't know. But thank you for
definitely.
coming on. Thanks. And
Thanks a lot for having me. That was
yeah,
amazing. Really, a lot of really good questions that I haven't got before. So I will
yeah,
definitely
well,
join if you want to have
yeah,
me if I do something good after Valencia.
yeah, definitely.